So, in terms of the training, what do we do? Well, as I said before, we decided to go 3 ways: display screen equipment, manual handling, and general ergonomics. And it's a combination of face-to-face training, so some of it is performed in-house by ourselves, some of it we get in external parties to train up. So in terms of display screen equipment, well, our current risk assessment tool has reached very much the end of its life, and we're certainly now moving on to the Cardinus workstation safety tool, and that's something we're going to be doing on a sort of a global basis. I'm involved in the project team associated with bringing it through R&D, and I'm sure you can sort of appreciate that that's going to be sort of quite a task. So it's a question of briefing the managers, it's briefing the people who work as DSE facilitators, and even briefing our own guys within EHS as to what's happening. So it's a question of making sure that you've got a decent chain in terms of support. That's one of the sort of key elements about that. General ergonomics, and this is something we've been concentrating on now. It's becoming obviously a bigger and bigger issue, and it's sort of rather interesting in terms of, from a legislative point of view, that you get, obviously if you've got your DSE regs, you've got your manual handling regs, but there's nothing really, if you go in there, there's no ergonomic regs as such. You go onto the HSE website, ergonomics, you see human factors, musculoskeletal disorders, and to a certain extent it's all a little bit sort of disjointed. That's the way we sort of view things. So it'd be interesting to see going forward how that's sort of all amalgamated together. So what we do, we decided what was going to be our approach here. So we thought about various tiers of levels of engagement of the workforce. So Tier 1 assessment, so we'd have sort of training for that. That's about a sort of a day's training on that. So people start building up some sort of knowledge of risk assessment, starting off with risk filters. Full risk assessment, and ultimately you have to persuade the manager to send someone on a course, and if it's going to be about 5 days long, such as the BOHS course, then that can be a bit of a problem. And so what we're thinking about doing is having something that's of shorter duration, that's very much geared to our own needs within GSK R&D. So that's sort of where we're moving to now. Tier 3 assessment, well, that's often above and beyond our sort of own capabilities in-house. And what we do is we actually go to external providers for that, so external consultants that help us out. And from a point of view of resourcing, of course, we've only got limited time in-house to do that. So if we bring in an expert, obviously there's a cost, but then we don't have to resource someone on a sort of permanent basis. Okay, so we talked about trained members of business community who are sort of trained up in what they do. Ergonomic leads within what is a safety and environment team, and ergonomic leads as well. And Alison over there works as an OHA in the health, safety and performance services. I got that right, there we are, that's good. External ergonomics consultant, and beyond that as well, what we do in terms of we look for approved suppliers, so preferred suppliers for external furniture and IT equipment suppliers. So say for example, if a DSE facilitator wants a bit of furniture or they want a piece of IT kit, they can go online, they have a preferred supplier, and those preferred suppliers have a set of preferred products that we've already agreed that that's the best thing for our organisation. So again, it's simplicity for what we're doing. One of the key things as well, occupational illness case management, and I'm sure Alison will get up and give quite a sort of a talk about this, but don't want to sort of dwell too much in this, but obviously there's quite a need to consider occupational ill health, case management, thinking in terms of recommendations for ergonomic improvements if it's an ergonomic OI, and also really thinking in terms of what improvements in terms of the business. So is it a resourcing issue? Is it new bits of kit are involved? Really got to think about that very carefully. And again, it's this holistic nature, the work-life balance that's all important. What are people doing if they present with an occupational illness? Is it really occupational illness, or is it something they're doing in their own time? That's the sort of key element to that. And what we're doing is, in terms of facilitators, we have various forums, so we meet with the facilitators. Beyond that as well, we try and engage with the community. Last November, we had a back care awareness on all the sites. In fact, that was R&D, but it was also throughout the business. So we had people making pledges in terms of they were going to they go for a walk every day. They're going to get up from their desk and walk around every 40 minutes. Basic little things like that. And it's not so much people making those pledges, but it's the engagement, that personal communication you get with individuals. They'll come up, oh, what's happening here? There's a prize, so you pull them in. There's an immediate prize, there's a prize draw as well. It keeps them happy. That's the important thing. And then you can talk about their individual problems. You find out, oh, well, they're doing this task, and well, I have a bit of a problem with that. And then you find out what the issues are, and you can go and help them on a local basis. So that's sort of the key thing about that. You co-opt people as required, really. And you engage them as well, facilitators. You give them some training, question and answer session, and as well, it's the thing that they want to feel that they're loved as well. That's one of the key issues as well, that people need to be valued in terms of what they do. Otherwise, there's discontentment. So ergonomic improvement teams, and it's certainly a technique that was started off on the manufacturing sites, and we have a modification that we use within the R&D sort of community. So we have representatives from local groups, and they meet at site level. So we have a Stevenage ergonomic improvement team, and we also have a Ware and Harlow ergonomic improvement team as well. So they're led by the safety professionals, and there are various representatives there from the business community. So, okay, so moving on. So some of the benefits, we have the online training. It really reduces the need for resource from our point of view. And again, the risk assessment side of things, it's great that we're going to have a tool that we can have, obviously, good feedback, action tracking, report generation, something like that, so we can have stats very easy to hand. The use of our DSE facilitators helps direct involvement from ourselves, and there's also a clear support chain: user, facilitator, EHS, and then beyond that the consultancy. So a clear support line. Some of the issues, well, we rely on the cooperation of management, and that can be quite an issue, really. And DSE facilitators need support and recognition from management, and certainly there are cases when that doesn't happen, and it's often difficult at times to engage certain business groups to come forward and supply people to work as either DSE facilitators, as manual handling assessors, or for members of the ergonomic improvement team. Okay, so just on this slide, I just sort of love this. It's got so many elements that are things wrong in it, and it's one of the slides I got. There's a media bank we have online that I've got some of these sort of slides from, and I think this would be great for maybe this year. We can have a sort of a quiz on what are the problems in here from EHS, but also from an ergonomic point of view. And then from my media bank, you can see there we are. So safety cabinets, nothing new under the sun. And sort of rather interesting looking at that, because there's some elements there that are sort of quite reasonable, and in some respects I've seen there's almost sort of things have drifted backwards with certain bits of kit that you see as safety cabinets. That's one of the advantages. You have the sort of the sloping surface there. It was all glass. So that has an advantage over quite a number of safety cabinets you get now, where, I mean, for my own point of view, when I was sort of working in a safety cabinet, I had the time sort of bending down to see under that metal sash, so that becomes quite an issue. And also angle of sash, Again, a lot of cabinets are just like that. It's actually better if they're more sort of like that. And again, it's something else that old cabinet had. So you see things, quite interesting things from that sort of age that haven't been incorporated into modern designs. So those are sort of the issues that we have. So what do we need to do? We need to consider the best practice for ergonomics, biosafety, occupational hygiene and maintenance. So there are a number of people within the R&D organisation, with the EHS team, who deal with all those. So I'm called in from an ergonomics point of view, and some of my colleagues as well get called in to deal with the biosafety and occupational hygiene side of things. But beyond that, there's also a need to involve the engineering and the projects teams as well, really to get them on board and get them to get us involved at an early stage of the project as well. Procurement. As we've done with the IT equipment and furniture, get procurement on board. So we have a preferred supplier for cabinets. And if you have one preferred supplier, you're bringing the cost down because you're getting in X number of units. So that's one of the sort of key factors there as well. But also, if you're having a sufficient number of units, you're going to sort of bring down the cost price. And you can, not only that, but you can influence design of those cabinets going forward as well. So the other thing that we're going to be doing also, production of a guidance documentation on cabinet procurement. So that's intended for all parties really. Certainly that we have a system, a management system in-house for that, but beyond that all parties, so all the capital projects guys who work on our projects teams, and also all the staff who work in the laboratories, aware of what the standards should be and what makes a good cabinet and what makes a poor cabinet. So there we are. I haven't gone into too much sort of detail about that, but I do think that that's sort of quite an interesting way we do. So there we are. That's my session. Thank you very much indeed for sort of listening to me drone on as I have been. But if you've got any questions, please feel free to ask.